was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Amazon Answers. I am Jared, and today I'm talking about the New 52 Wonder Woman run. So I was originally just gonna keep this to New 52, like Brian Azzarello, but what I wanted to do is give you guys like also positive like depictions of this particular iteration of the character. So I want to talk about not only the good but also the bad of the New 52 iteration of Wonder Woman in general, because I know that this particular run gets shat upon a lot by fans, and I feel like it shouldn't, because while it was controversial to say the least, it wasn't as bad as some people say. So let's start with Brian Azzarello, Wonder Woman. Now, here's the thing about this particular run. I know that there is a lot in this that Wonder Woman fans particularly did not like with the Amazons and such. Now, counterpoint, and no, this isn't me defending it. I'm just providing a counterpoint, because what Azzarello was trying to do with this was essentially write a mythologically accurate Wonder Woman. Because here's the thing. The Amazons, according to Greek mythology, like actual mythology, are the Brian Azzarello Amazons. Like, sorry, that's just the way the way it is. So it's like, yeah, it's essential. I'm essentially like, okay, listen, is it the best? No, but for me, what I consider it as, the Azzarello portion, is a good Elseworlds depiction of Wonder Woman, because it's so separated but from the regular DC universe that you can like separate it and keep it like away from regular DC and kind of ignore a lot of this, because a lot of this has been undone through like retcons and such. That's the other part of why I think that the King run is kept so separate from DC continuity, because I think that what's going to happen is that when King leaves, it will inevitably lead to them essentially going, okay, so what can we retcon out of continuity? I don't know. What do you guys think? But so what do you guys think about the Azzarello I'll start with the Azzarello portion of Wonder Woman. What do you guys think of the Azzarello portion of Wonder Woman? And if you guys have any questions about New 52 Wonder Woman as well, go ahead and drop that in the chat, and then I'll answer them in terms of like if it's good, if it's bad, stuff I like, stuff I didn't like. But it's the Q&A portion of the stream. I'll start off by saying I don't, even though it's mythologically accurate, it's not my favorite, because I don't necessarily like that because yes, it's mythologically accurate to the way the Amazons were, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like these Amazons should be depicted that way, because Wonder Woman herself, while based in Greek mythology heavily, is also none of her major villains appeared. Instead, they created boring OC in the Firstborn. Well, I don't think, Ares, what was in this? So I'm not going to say all of them. And Dr. Cyber did show up. So there's a few of the Wonder Woman villains in our NJ. So I wouldn't exactly say none of them showed up. And also Strife was a major villain of the time. It's just in the later run is when they really started bringing in other Wonder Woman characters. But I understand like where you're going. It's like Cheetah was not included in this, which seems weird that Cheetah would not be included in this run, considering she played an interesting and kind of important role in the regular Wonder Woman thing, and like the way Wonder Woman was portrayed, and the way Wonder Woman was portrayed, and like other stuff going forward. But it's like it was, again, is this a good Elseworlds depiction of Wonder Woman? Yes, I would say Elseworlds. Is it a good main continuity, in continuity version of Wonder Woman? Two ideas. Yeah, Cheetah was in the new 52 Green Arrow and Justice League, NJ. So there was that. It's one of those. It's very interesting the way that this kind of goes, because I'm like, while I understand why they made the creative choices they did, I'm like you. I don't think that for an in continuity Wonder Woman book, I don't like it. And I get where Azzarello was going for, but I also wasn't a big fan of how he tried to tie Wonder Woman into the fourth world like that. So I'm like, no, I'm not a big fan of that. So that's the Azzarello portion. Now, then you got the Meredith Finch. By Julius says, isn't this Wonder Woman from the new 52 based off her DC AMU counterpart? Other way around, NJ. The DC AMU is based off of this, except this actually aged better. But so then you get, after Azzarello left the book, you had Meredith and David Finch. And they made, this is where it really starts to kind of go downhill. Latvian Dragon is like, I do like that they try to make the Amazons more Greek accurate. Also, does this series also cover the events before? I think so. I mean, there was like Secret Origin Wonder Woman, I think, that like showed that like she saw Steve not as a love interest, but as a way off the island. So I guess if you're talking about that, you could go off that. But I think so. So this is where you got like the new armor, which is like, as Britt calls it, the linebacker suit. By the way, I do have it signed by David Finch because I got to meet him. Then when I actually asked him what was like the point of changing the armor, and he said that DC wanted to like go for a more full body covered version of Wonder Woman, but the fan base was so like vehemently against it that there's a reason why it only lasted a volume of Wonder Woman. So there's that. So, and that's also where like Donna is like a Amazon assassin designed to kill Diana, and she kills the male Amazons. Yeah, there's a lot in that goes really downhill. But then we get to the following series, for the most part, is the best depiction of new 52 Wonder Woman ever. Charles Sewell's Superman Wonder Woman. Because here's the thing about Superman Wonder Woman by Sewell. I'm making the distinction as just Sewell. Do you think that this version was a bit too violent? No, I don't. I think she was as violent as Wonder Woman normally is. But so with this, the beauty about this series specifically is they didn't act like just younger. It's like when people say that like new 52 Superman was like brash or an a-hole, or like new 52 Wonder Woman was violent. This is the refutation, because no, in this, that they just acted like Superman and Wonder Woman, but they were in a relationship. And the cool thing about this, yes, it's called Superman and Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman is the one that has the biggest character arc across at least the first 12 issues of the series. It's not like it gets accused of being a Superman-centric comic just because they fight Superman villains, but you also have them fight the gods. So it's like, that's not true, as is most misinformation about this. Any Wonder Woman before Tom King is my favorite. Ain't that the truth, QT? But when it comes to like this series, it's like Wonder Woman gets the character arc because she struggles with the secret identity portion of Superman. And then she even like tells her mother, he wants me to go to a place that I not necessarily can go. And it leads to them having like a little bit of tension, but it's not like forced tension as the Tomasi run did. Wonder Woman is a superhero, and having mythologically accurate Amazon suggests that Diana also has the same ideology towards men, and she wasn't and when she wasn't, fans asking how is she different from them, so it's just messed up. Yeah, exactly. So it's not my favorite depiction of the Amazons at all. But and then Laughing Dragon asks, what do you think of the male Amazons? That's a fascinating concept to explore if they actually explored it instead of like killed them all off. Because if they actually explored it and like had Wonder Woman like take the position of trying to bring the two tribes together, that would have actually been really cool if they actually like did that. But they didn't. So then you get to volume 2, which is taking place around the time of Superman Doomed, which is Superman turning into Doomsday, and Wonder Woman. This is where we also hear that like, and this book has my best refutation to anything Tom King puts with Wonder Woman being obsessed with Steve Trevor, because in this book it has Diana's talking to Lois, and then Lois goes, "You must be worried about him." Actually, you know what? I'll open it up so I can read it to you guys instead of me just trying to recount it from memory. All right, so they're in the Fortress of Solitude. All right, it's Brainiac and... Okay, here we go. So Lois asks, will you try and find him, being Superman? Wonder Woman says, no, Lois. If he needs me, he'll call me. The world comes first, always. And then Lois says, is that like a deal you made? And then Wonder Woman says, we've never had to say it out loud, but we know. I think the moment that stops, so do we. So it's like Wonder Woman and Superman have the universal understanding where it's like, no, the world comes first before our relationships. We're superheroes first. We're superheroes that happen to be dating. The minute that stops, we have to stop. And that's the key thing here, because Wonder Woman puts her loss of Steve, let's say, in the Tom King run, above everything else. And guess what? That inevitably leads to disaster. So really, it's good that like Steve got killed, but the fact that that's become all Diana is in that run is dog doo-doo. Like really, really, really bad. But anyway, so then what? And then would you say New 52 and Justice and Flashpoint movie ruined Wonder Woman and her lore for casual fans who don't read the comics? I wouldn't say the Flashpoint movie, but and I would not say New 52, because here's why, NJ. New 52 was highly rated among average comic book fans, and it was like it was a highly rated series and sold really well. So I don't think New 52 did. Injustice, yes, it did. The Flashpoint comics actually portray Wonder Woman in a much more positive light. Well, and you'll see that tomorrow at 5 p.m. when Britt and I do a live episode of Super Wonder Legacy, where we're going to talk about that specifically, because the comics itself are the ones where it's like, no, I'm sorry. The comics were like Wonder Woman is like trying to constantly stop the war against the Amazons and stuff, a war against the Atlanteans. So that's kind of where I would go with that. And remember, I would advise people, if you didn't like it, like this particular era of Wonder Woman, that's fine, but don't assume that it was as hated as you think it is, because I can tell you right now, it kind of wasn't. So were the male Amazons evil in the comic? No, they weren't. But a ton of casuals don't read comics, only the movies, and Diana is horrible in a lot of them. Diana was not horrible in the first Wonder Woman movie, so there was that. 1984 flopped, and again, it's like I still say no. Now, the reason why I always tell people just read these 2 volumes and stop is because when Peter J. Tomasi came on, he avowed Clois shipper. He went in there, and my opinion is he intentionally went on to sabotage the relationship. So we start here, and he revisits their first meeting in Justice League 12, but he adds a bunch of like forced drama between the two, because Wonder Woman is like enjoying combat, and it's like she doesn't want to save civilians, she wants to focus on the threat. And I go, stop trying to force drama. And then it's like Tomasi was like, no drama, no story. But I go, force drama, no story. So there was that. Then you get to Dark Truth, and this was where New 52 Wonder Woman really and Superman really went downhill, because this is when they like broke up, because Wonder Woman used the lasso on like people to like get answers from them. And that's when like Superman's like, he knocks out Flash because he needs to get his powers back. And I go, Superman wouldn't care about the powers. I know Jurgens is also a hater, but still, what Laffy and Dragon asks, what's the worst depiction of Super Wonder? Honestly, Chris Claremont's Whom Gods Destroy from Post Crisis. It's an Elseworlds book. It is horrible. Diana's a Nazi and Lois turns into Wonder Woman. Trust me, do not read that. It's horrible. But it's like with this, again, it's like I just really don't like this one. And then you get to volume 5, and this is when Superman is dying, and like the last story of Superman. And they did so much really cool stuff. They did some fun stuff in there. But okay, this is my chief issue. And this is how I know that Tomasi did not read the previous series before he started retconning in a bunch of stuff. Because in this, we have Clark discovering that Diana's the god of war. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? I can't believe you didn't tell me. And I'm like, okay, bro. At the end of this, in issue 6, you find out that Diana's the god of war. And guess what happens? You're like, oh, so you're the god of war. So does that mean you can like change war? How does that work? And he's like, he's very like congenial with Diana. And it is like, and she's like, I want to try and change the concept of war and make it a last resort. And then Diana and Superman goes, hey, I'm all for that. And again, then you get to the BS of Tomasi, who clearly didn't do it. He was going in there just to sabotage it so they could retcon away the marriage, and Jurgens as well, NJ, for Superman Reborn, and turn Diana into a perpetual mouthpiece to talk about how awesome Lois is. And you wonder why I don't like Lois Lane. But so what other questions do you guys have for this era of Wonder Woman? Because it's like, I don't think it's that bad, but like most of it, if you know the right series to grab, yeah. So only the first 12 issues are worth reading. Yeah. If you want a good, solid story that doesn't like make Diana overly aggressive, it's these 2 volumes. They could collect the first 12 issues. Hey, what's up, Cameron? They collect the first 12 issues of Superman Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman is the star of these 2 books. Like even in this, when the world comes first and Superman's turning into Doomsday, she almost has to kill him, because in the New 52, they made it where Doomsday emits like a death field where everything around him will die. And he's walking into a town, and Wonder Woman is like, no, you made me promise that if it got to this point, I do what is necessary. And she almost has to kill Superman. And then NJ says Lois is there just to humiliate Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly. That is when that is my thing there. That is my point. That is a very excellent point. I do agree with you on that. Yeah, sadly, NJ's not. Yeah, exactly, and that's why I did. That's the things that really didn't jive with me when it comes to to Lois Lane, because it's like, my point is, if you have to denigrate other characters to prop up another character, there's a problem with that character. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the truth. But so what other questions about New 52 Wonder Woman do you guys want to talk about, or like Wonder Woman in general? How did Azzarello do with her rogues? Well, he used a lot of the more mythological rogues because it was very much tying Wonder Woman into the Greek gods. And he also had like Dr. Cyber and I think Veronica Cale in a few of them. So he included more rogues than people give him credit for. He just didn't do much with them, but he did put them in there. That's why we need new blooded DC who aren't Lois Sims. Yeah, exactly. Because if you look at like Charles Sewell at the time, he was new blood, and look what he was able to do with like Wonder Woman and Superman Wonder Woman. Does Cheetah show up? Not in the run itself, in the Brian Azzarello run. She and Wonder Woman fight in the New 52 Justice League book, like volume 2. No, volume 3. Hang on, I'll get that real quick. It's volume 3. I'm just grabbing this. Okay, here we go. Right here in Throne of Atlantis, where Cheetah actually turns Superman into a super cheetah by scratching him, and Wonder Woman has to like fight Superman and then fight Cheetah and stuff. So they did a lot of really cool stuff in that. A Wonder Woman run without Cheetah, blasphemy. There have been Wonder Woman runs without Cheetah. It's not common, but there have been Wonder Woman runs without Cheetah. I'm just going to throw that out there. And then the other thing I want to bring up is New 52 Wonder Woman. I think the best moment for this is in Justice League number 12, when she and Superman have the conversation that inevitably leads to them kissing. The cool thing about that is that it perfectly encapsulates Wonder Woman's like inner struggle of like being alone and not feeling like you fit in with someone. And that is one that and Superman echoes that. And she's like, we can't really be close to anyone because they don't understand what we go through on a daily basis. And that just perfectly summarized Superman and Wonder Woman really, really well in this era of comics, and really in any era of comics, I would argue. Put these traits away. Figure. Okay, this stand fell. Fix that in a second. All right, put that in there. Jeff Johns with that infamous sentence about when I deal with them, I deal with them. I'll also put a negative mark on Wonder Woman. Yeah, well, not really brutal, but still, it's like because Wonder Woman does kill people, but he never like portrays Wonder Woman well. So that's the thing. I would like see a God of War style Wonder Woman storyline. Well, that's what Azzarello did. That's 100% what Azzarello did in the New 52. That's kind of what they were going for. So there's that. I did read New 52 and J until issue 12. Also, do these comics interfere with each other, or can I read them separately and not be confused? You can read, if you're talking about Justice League, yeah, you can read that separately, and Superman and Wonder Woman. The only thing from Justice League that like gets referenced is that Superman and Wonder Woman are dating. So that's really all you got to know. But in terms of like do they specifically reference each other to the point where you gotta like know what they're saying? Where you have to read everything? No, not really. You can pick and choose. You can pick and choose. And obviously this channel is there also. She also kills as a very last resort. She always does the yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. People misunderstand that Gail Simone panel from her run where she talks about the Amazons have a saying, don't like don't kill if you can wound, don't do this if you can do this, because that still implies that she will kill as a last resort. That's what I said, is that every superhero, whether or not it be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, none of them have a no kill rule. They have a no, as Pika calls it, murder rule. And they also go off of, okay, so it's like they're just not going to go for it as the first option. They'll do it more as a last resort, like Wonder Woman did in Sacrifice when she snapped Maxwell Lord's neck. So it's like the people saying that they under no circumstances they will kill. Nope, sorry, that's objectively false. What else do you guys want to talk about? Want to chat about when it comes with Wonder Woman or like New 52 in general? That's what I'm here for. Batman must finally kill the Joker. It's getting beyond ridiculous. Yeah, when he commits like almost genocide, I'm like, at this point, I do agree with you to a degree. It's like you got, but DC won't do it because like the Joker still sells. If the Joker stops selling, then they would definitely like get rid of him ASAP. But it's like because he doesn't, it's like, all right, we'll keep him around. We'll keep him around. But I feel like eventually they're gonna like oversaturate it, and then people are gonna stop picking it up. So that's kind of my idea. But I know that this is more a New 52 question in general. That's fine. But what was up with the 5 years ago later thing? That was to say that, like, for Batman and Green Lantern, everything that happened to them happened in 5 years. Now they tried to expand that and say, well, Batman was a superhero at 5 years, so for 5 years before each of the Justice Leaguers, so it was really 10 years. Everything happened there. Still didn't work, but it was DC being non-committal with the reboot. So that's kind of what that was. Batman must finally kill. Yeah, okay, I read that. And they could just make the Joker go back to his Gold Age or Silver Age roots in a reboot. They could, but again, that would require DC to actually put some effort into there. And as we know, effort in DC doesn't necessarily match all the time. But yeah, it's like they really or at least stop him from like it's like the problem when the problem with this stuff is that Joker it's like you're telling me that what's the word? You're telling me that Gotham would not give this guy the death penalty eventually. That's where it gets really like unbelievable. And I'm like, guys, eventually this doesn't understand. It just doesn't like it doesn't work to a degree. I'm just gonna give you that. But as for this version of Wonder Woman, it gets a lot of heat for majorly what Azzarello did, which again, yeah, it's an is all that stuff like my favorite, my like favorite like ideas for Wonder Woman? No, not really. But is it like as horrible as like, because people treat it like it's the Tom King run, and I go, and actually, QT brought it up properly. It's like it's like I would rather have this than Tom King's Wonder Woman. I'm just gonna be clear on that. And that's the thing. It's like, hey, look, if you don't like this, but like this way, where do you kind of draw the line? So that's like the point I want to make with this. It's like, look, at this point, it's considered an Elseworlds book because of everything that's like changed. So what's the difference now? What's the difference? What other like points do you guys want to make? What other questions do you guys have about Wonder Woman, New 52 Wonder Woman, Tom King's Wonder Woman? Was New 52 ending inevitable? No, if they had actually put the effort in, they could have repaired things. They really could have. It's just then all of a sudden, like Jurgens and all the nostalgic idiots took over, and we're like, no, let's undo this. Let's go to DC Rebirth, because that's definitely not going to destroy the continuity. Because New 52 was selling decent enough. It's just I take issue when they go on the apology tour and go, oh, we're mea culpa, we're so sorry about the New 52. And I go, no, don't be sorry. You took a risk. In some ways it didn't work, some ways it did work. So what are you guys doing? But it's like the minute you started to just give up, that's when the New 52 ended. Because if you actually put the effort in there, you could have salvaged everything and what's the word, and like pivoted to like repair a lot of the damage that was done to that was done by like creators that didn't get the characters or anything like that. So no, it wasn't inevitable. It was 100% avoidable. Where is Gotham located in the U.S.? Does that say have the death penalty? I mean, I think it's like in New Jersey, so probably not. But at a certain point, he's committed genocide. He's practically nuked the city. I'm sorry. It's like it's like at a certain point, you got, or at least lock him, or at least Batman have Clark throw him into the Phantom Zone. But again, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Never mind the fact that Joker has killed children. So I'm like, bro, that just doesn't. Eventually, the more you make the Joker do more and more heinous stuff, the more unrealistic it gets that that someone would not have just killed the Joker. And it gets to the point where the more stuff Joker does and Batman doesn't kill him, Batman becomes at least half culpable for what the Joker does, because because Batman puts the Joker in Arkham Asylum, knowing that the Joker's just going to break out. So I'm sorry, that that's just the truth. Batman is at least half culpable because he puts him in there knowing what's going to happen. If you go in there knowingly, essentially knowing, if you will, that the Joker's gonna break out, well, you are at least partly culpable. That's the way it's gonna work. Batman Mythos being the same in the New 52 was weird. Yeah, it kind of was, because it's like, okay, so wait. So you're telling me that, okay, this is where it gets really weird, because it's like, you're telling me that Final Crisis happened where he essentially goes like, where he goes back in time throughout the Bat family, throughout the Bat time, if you will, and then comes back. Eventually, when you really go into it, there's no way that this could have happened. Arkham is also a horrible facility. How come it's so? Well, the other thing is, like, why doesn't Batman upgrade Arkham security? Because Batman has the ability to turn Arkham into an impenetrable fortress, and he doesn't. Which I'm like, at a certain point, when do we stop saying that Batman is like naive, and when do we say that he's negligent? Because that's what it's approaching. It's borderline negligence, essentially. Yeah, it's borderline negligence, because Batman's doing all this stuff knowing what's going to happen. If you keep saying, well, he has hope that eventually the Joker will rehabilitate, I'm sorry, he is naive. That's why what's kind of funny, and to be fair, if they did that, they'd have to create reasons on how they escape. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they actually have to be creative. Here's the thing. When you read Under the Red Hood, Jason's correct. Jason is 100% correct when it comes to like when it comes to Batman killing. Because I'm sorry, he's like, just kill him. And if Batman goes, oh, but if I kill one person, then I'll kill everyone. And I go, no, then you shouldn't be a superhero if that's what you're going for. What are your thoughts on why Supes lost his powers? You mean the Vandal Savage taking his powers? I really hated that entire era of Superman, the entire truth era of Superman, because it just it at that point, that's when New 52 Superman didn't feel like Superman. That's when, if people say New 52 Superman was an a-hole, that's when I could see the argument, because it was a fundamental and like a light switch character assassination on him. I get that they wanted to go back to like the golden age, like champion of the oppressed Superman, but you already had that in the Grant Morrison run of Superman, and you just destroyed it. You destroyed a promising era of Superman just because you didn't know what to do. Under the Red Hood kind of missed the part where Batman Joker died in a helicopter crash. Well, yeah, that too. But it's like, look, eventually, the more this goes on, eventually Batman's going to need to like get to kill him. It's just gonna happen. Do you agree with Lex about how the human race becomes stagnant because of Superman? To a degree, but there's a reason why Superman doesn't do everything for the world. He still forces them to be great on their own time. If Superman literally did everything, then yeah, I would be able to see that argument. But Lex ignores that Superman essentially leaves it up to humanity to make their own destiny, if you will. So that's where I vehemently disagree with Lex. But is he 100% wrong? Not all the time, but is he somewhat wrong? Yeah, I would say he's somewhat wrong. Warriors in a Wii, Wonder Woman releases Wednesday. this Wednesday or Tuesday. It's on DC Universe app, apparently. Yes, it is. And yeah, I think it's definitely this week. And Britt and I will be reviewing it on Super Wonder Legacy when it comes out, because we've resolved to like review practically everything Wonder Woman related, because it's all really fun Wonder Woman stuff. And I'm looking forward to it. Definitely excited for it. But it be because it's more positive depictions of the Amazons, which is way more than Tom King could be bothered to. It's like the more I read other Wonder Woman content other than King, the more pissed off I honestly get, because it's just like, look, it's anyone that tells you it's hard to write for Diana, I'm sorry, and I'm going to take this position, is lying. It's not hard. It's hard to fit your perception of who Diana is and not the way she actually is. It's hard for you to twist her into whatever version that you want to make her. That's where it's hard to write for Diana. But it's like a lot of writers just do not want to actually be bothered to put the effort in to write for Wonder Woman. They just don't. They really, really just don't. What do you think of Super Wonder and Injustice? That is not an accurate representation of Super Wonder, but in any way, shape, or form, that is a butcheredization of it. But oh, by here, how come no Super Wonder yesterday? Is everything all right? Yeah, everything's good. It's just Brit's sick. So, and remember, what we typically do is every other week we do live streams for Super Wonder. So it's like, yesterday was supposed to be a pre-recorded stream, but Britt was sick, so we had to like postpone it. We're gonna do it tomorrow at 5 p.m. as a live stream to make up for it. But yeah, don't worry about it. We're definitely going to do a Super Wonder 100%. I appreciate you reminding that, Cameron. Really do. But yeah, typically every other week is gonna be recorded or live streams. But again, since Britt wasn't feeling well, we had to postpone it until a live recording on Monday to make it up. And again, we're still going to talk about Flashpoint and how the Flashpoint animated movie butchered Flashpoint Wonder Woman, because they make it out like Diana is like the biggest villain, and she's just not. No problem. Just yeah, I appreciate that, brother. What was the worst New 52 one? Teen Titans. Teen Titans, 100% Teen Titans is the worst. Because it's not in any way like close to what it was. If I were to tell you what are the best New 52 runs, Justice League Action Comics by Grant Morrison, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Deathstroke. I would say obviously Batman. Flash is actually really, really peak. There's a lot of good new 52 runs that don't get the credit that they deserve. King is obsessed with male characters, sadly. I know I say this a lot, but I miss it. Yeah, I know. I hope so. I think the next writer will involve. Let me put this way, NJ. Even if the new writer doesn't like bring Hippolyta back away from being the gods, Hippolyta will be involved with the Diana book way more than she is now. I know that for a fact. It's like with the other writers on Wonder Woman that could possibly take over for Wonder Woman, all of them have shown that they are respectful of the whole character's lore way more than Tom King ever could be. Oh, and I agree. Injustice ruined Super Wonder because that was the first. Yeah, exactly. It's like Britt and I did an episode just on Injustice, and it's like that run. Because here's the problem with that. Because Ed Boon is a hardcore Batman fan. That's why Batman is the hero of Injustice, where when you really look at it, he's more of the villain. Because if he had not isolated himself from Superman, Superman would not have turned evil. Like, that's it. It's like all the other villains have to be there. Would Zack Snyder depict Super Wonder? I think he would. It was that part of his original story? No, but I think if given the opportunity, he would have, because you can play along. You can play with like the Justice with like Superman and Wonder Woman versus the gods, or maybe bring back Feora, and you can maybe like. If he didn't kill Zod, he could. I could definitely see Zach doing power couple, but I think he would have. I think he would have. If he thinks that'd be kind of cool. Plus, he's a big fan of like Frank Miller, and we know that that's how Superman and Wonder Woman were in that universe. So there's any number of ways that they could depict that. Any number of ways. I really always wanted a Marvel versus Capcom DC game with different teams of heroes and villains, roster of 62 characters. Yeah, that would be really cool. With the way that like DC is going with WB is, I feel like if they do a fighting game, it'll just be the Mortal Kombat team. I truly hope she will come back completely, because she has needed way more in Diana's life. She doesn't. Yeah, exactly. What I mean is, I'm certain that they will bring her back eventually away from being a god. But even if they don't, I know she will play a significant role in Diana's life. I still find Super Wonder sexy in the Diana Strikes, but yeah, exactly. But it's like, I get what Frank was going for, but I don't defend that. I would call it Justice League Heroes Ultimate Crisis. That's kind of a long title for like. Plus, Justice League Heroes would confuse it with the Justice League Heroes game. So I feel like they wouldn't necessarily go in that direction. Well, that man did what that man doesn't get is Bruce would come for Clark. Yeah, he would have at the very least, because Bruce is like, I need to be there for this man because he has the powers to burn the world down. I need to make sure he doesn't explode. The way I would have done it is have Clark go, listen, is that Bruce go, hey, listen, Clark, I trust you. Let's all calm down real quick. I know that you wanted. I know that emotions are high because of what you did to the Joker. Let me put it this way. Up until he kills Oliver Queen and Martian Manhunter, that's when they could have like stopped Superman, and it would have been because at that point he had only killed the Joker. So there was 100% like a redeemable like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that. What do you think of Absolute Lois Lane? I like how they're kind of positioning her as more of a villain. I do really enjoy that because it's different from like the main universe. I love the Absolute books. Martian Manhunter is the one that I think is the weakest. It's not horrible. I still enjoy it. That's why I keep it on my pull list. But it's nowhere near as it's nowhere near as good as the Trinity books. Let me put it that way. The Absolute Trinity books are peak as hell. Green Lantern and Flash are also really good, but the Trinity books, especially, I would argue Absolute Wonder Woman is the best Absolute books. Also, why did the new why were they jerks to Martian Manhunter? I mean, they weren't. It's because they tried to put a little bit of tension in there. The thing is, when it comes to like that, the reason why they went with Cyborg instead of Martian Manhunter, because I know it gets like heat for that as well. But what people have to remember with the Absolute Justice League is that essentially everyone was aged down as well. That was the other thing the new 52 did, is everyone was like younger than they traditionally were. So it would make more sense for Cyborg to join the Justice League and then later maybe go into more of a adverse and an advisory or like liaison role with the Justice League and the Titans. But because they were younger, that's why I think that Jeff put Cyborg on the Justice League. Plus, also to elevate him a little more because Vic is a fantastic character. I mean, as the Snyder Cut showed, and it's one of those things where I'm like, if given the amount of time, they definitely could have elevated Cyborg even more than he already is. But still cool. I'm not gonna blast it or anything like that. Plus, when you think about it, they put Martian Manhunter on his own team with like Hawkman, Catwoman, Stargirl, Simon Baz, where it's supposed to be countering the Justice League. It's called the Justice League of America, which I really like that. That was actually a really cool concept that they explored. But so what other questions do you guys have about a new? I may have to do a deep dive stream into the new 52 with all this interest you guys are showing. Also, and let's be honest, her being a god is absolutely pointless and doesn't nothing to her character at all. I hope the next author brings up. Yeah, Hippolyta being a god. Yeah, I do. I agree with you, NJ. I don't like it, but I'm saying the next writer, most like if they don't undo it, the next writer will at least do something with it to maybe make it cool. I'd say mid 20s, I would say, or mid to late 20s is when they like showed up. I mean, at least for Wonder Woman, she was 18. And I think everyone was like mid 20s, but Wonder Woman was like 18 in Justice League Origin, the first volume. Because remember, there's a 5-year gap between the league forming and fighting Darkseid and like the next volume, volume 2. So you definitely could do that. And by the way, if you want to see Teladia and I cover that, go to his channel in the Snyder Fans Read Comics playlist. But yeah, essentially they were much younger. So again, that's why you could justify Cyborg being a member of the Justice League. I know some people didn't like that. And it's like, so some people are like, no, he's a Titan. And I go, so the Justice League have the bigger name than the Titans. I got news for you. This is a massive upgrade. Okay, let's see. What was up with Trinity trying to hunt down Oliver in issue 1 of Justice League of America? It wasn't first off, it wasn't the Trinity. It was robots that were designed to imitate Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and that was because the JLA was going up against the essentially the secret society that was being led by the Earth 3 Alfred Pennyworth that was trying to get the Pandora's box, because Pandora's box in this universe opens a portal to Earth 3, and that's when like the crime syndicate crossed over, and then we get like the event Forever Evil. So that's what that was supposed to be depicting, essentially. Do you agree Hippolyta is the yeah, I prefer her as a regular Amazon. Well, regular is kind of downplaying it, but you get what I'm trying to say. I'm like, I prefer her as like not a god, but I'm just saying I have confidence that, particularly with Jeremy Adams, the next writer will at least do something with it. I'm still like, I'd say 95% sure that the next writer will just retcon that out and like bring her back to like not being a god. But I'm just saying, if they don't, I have confidence that the next writer will do something with it and maybe do something cool with it before they undo it. So it's like, would I rather her be not a god? Yes, I do. I would rather her not be a god. But do I think there's potential for writers to do something cool? Yeah, I think so. I would say so. And by the way, quick announcement is that I will be. How many issues of Justice League of America did they have? Okay, hang on. I have the 2 trades. It's also in the omnibus, but I have the 2 trades. So let me pick that off my shelf real quick. I love that you guys are so interested in the new 52. I may have to do just a stream on this era of DC, and I'll have my friend Paulie, who's like a big new 52 fan. So there was 14 issues in these 2 trades in Justice League of America. Right here. So this one was the establishment of the team and such. And then their story continued on in like Trinity War, in the story Trinity War. But this is really where that concept was like explored of having another Justice League team as a contingency plan. Well, actually, all of these trades have, this trade has like the Trinity War issues that involve the Justice League of America. And then this one has like the aftermath of, in this trade, it's Stargirl and the rest of the league trying to go through like the crime syndicate's trap and such. How do you differentiate Veronica Cale and Lex Luthor in the DC without her being a copycat for Wonder Woman? Well, their motivations, because Wonder Woman, because Cale just wants to find that mascara to enrich herself. Lex wants to kill Superman. You could make it where Cale just wants the Amazon's like artifacts and stuff and like technology, but Diana just happens to be in the way. That's why Veronica Cale hates Wonder Woman, as opposed to she hates her just for existing. That's the difference, because Lex hates Superman just for existing. Get this in the proper order. These cards keep falling off. Just do that. Need the sideboard card. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so that's the way they could do it. Have you seen Smallville? I've seen a bunch of episodes of Smallville. It's not my thing. I don't have as big of a attachment to it that some people seem to have, just because it's like, first off, I don't like how they over sexualize every female character, and I also don't like how like Superman fights all of his major did they do like all of his major stories before he even becomes Superman. When you really break it down, it doesn't work. So it's like when you actually like war game it, it really doesn't work out that well, at least in my opinion. If you guys like Smallville, that's totally fine. By the way, this week's Wonder Woman Wednesday, I will be doing an episode talking about what would Wonder Woman's version of the Smallville show be like if they did like that whole thing. I have some pretty good plans. Also, Cale claims herself the champion of all women and the feminist, and with Diana picture she's jealous of that too. You could definitely play off of that 100%. But I was saying in the different, if you really wanted to differentiate her from Lex, her goals, like if Diana did not get in her way, I don't think Cale would necessarily, besides that, NJ, I don't think Cale would necessarily like really care about Diana. But that's just me. That's just me. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. But Cale is such a great character. I do hope they do more with Veronica Cale, because there's so much potential in there. There really, really, really is. As with DC, but again, it's like DC's not known for living up to their potential. Smallville style Wendy show sounds interesting, though she would probably be stuck on her own. Not necessarily. I have some ideas on that, and I'll bring that up when I do the video, because I have essentially a 3-season structure that involves her being on the island, but also her leaving the island. I'll get into that. Her and Cersei will make a fine duo. Not gonna lie. Yes, exactly. Because you have it where like Cersei's like, help me, and I'll give you all the Amazonian artifacts you want, and I'll take down Wonder Woman. So that's they have that team up, and that's honestly should be the plot for the Wonder Woman movie in the DCU. There's so much that you could go with that. But anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. I really had fun with this one. Now, before I go, why don't you guys tell me what do you think the topic of next week's Amazon Answer stream should be? I'd love to hear from you guys as well, because I was planning on talking about G. Willow Wilson or Steve Orlando or even Clunrad, whichever one you guys want me to talk about. I'll talk about it. Because if you guys want Clunrad, I'll do Clunrad, whatever you guys want. The CW pilot. That's an option. We did a movie night on that on the app before. If you want, there is that, but it's also like I could do that on this show as well, like the weird Wonder Woman starts and stops and such. But whatever you guys would like for me to talk about. Do you want God mode back for Wonder Woman? Yeah, I think that'd be kind of like the part where she takes off the gauntlets, her eyes go white, and then she like beats the crap out of people. Yeah, I do want that. That'll be really dope. That's one of the coolest parts of New 52 Wonder Woman is when they put that in. But so what other ideas what other topics do you guys want to see? Because I'm currently going through all of the Wonder Woman runs, so I may just do G. Willow Wilson and Orlando as one video because their runs were relatively short, and see where it goes from there. Between Orlando and Clunrad run is good. Okay, how about this? I'll do Clunrad next week and then Orlando after that. How's that? I think that's a good place to. I think that's a good way to do that. So, in terms of what's coming up next for Comics League tomorrow at 5 p.m., maybe her 2016 run, I could do that too. That's a good one. In terms of like, in terms of what's coming out tomorrow, I remember at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and let me confirm that's the time I agreed with Britt. Actually, it'll be 6 p.m. tomorrow. So again, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Britt and I will be going live for Super Wonder Legacy episode 101, where we discuss the Flashpoint animated movie and Flashpoint Wonder Woman. We'll also be reviewing Superman, talking about the Superman box office and such. There's a lot that we will definitely be talking about. We'll talk about Absolute Superman and a bunch of other fun stuff to discuss. And then Wonder Woman Wednesday, I already said, is going to be Wonder Woman Smallville. And then Under Two Capes, we'll be doing a comparison of Man of Steel and James Gunn's Superman to talk about what one does better than the other. Yes, NJ, Britt and I will be discussing Trinity as well. And for movie night on Saturday, we'll be discussing Superman versus the Elite. And then for Super Wonder Legacy, I'm thinking we may do it in a live episode. Britt and I are going to be comparing Wonder Woman to Carol Danvers' Ms. Marvel, and how it's another character that it's both characters that are propped up to the same like position in Marvel and DC, but are equally screwed up. So it's the Diana and Carol Danvers. And honestly, Kelly Thompson has written pretty well. So that's a great way to do that. But yeah, so that's what I got in terms of Wonder Woman, in terms of general content. But stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod. Zois and Max Abat for life. I will see you guys later. Bye bye.